Joining us right now is Strategas Partner Dan Clifton, taking a look at this. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
What do you think about all these CEOs pushing back? They've got global businesses, and some of their employees actually hail from those countries, the 7 countries that President Trump put the ban on.
I would put them into 2 categories. One, legitimate business concerns. Then there are other CEOs who have a political agenda who are trying to use this as an excuse for some larger policy changes on increased immigration. I think the first category, the most important to focus on, and Elon Musk got this right, Maria. He said, why don't we see what's wrong with this and bring constructive recommendations to President Trump? And I could do that Friday as part of the Business Advisory Committee. That's the right approach to take. But challenging the president and saying that this is something that it's not in terms of the substance of this is probably counterproductive for some of these companies.
That's only going to get him even more mad.
Right, exactly. Dan, are these CEOs, though, really obligated to speak out publicly? Because they can act as the leader of the company without, because when you speak out personally, I think that they immediately make it a political issue, say for Elon Musk.
I would agree with that, but some of them have legitimate business concerns, and they're trying to reassure their employees. They should be able to do that. What's happening, though, is that the Trump administration probably has another executive order that deals with H-1B visas. And that's very important for the companies that are speaking out right now. And I think that they're worried that maybe they're going to get a hit from the H-1B visas. And so they're trying to have a larger debate on immigration. They're talking about skilled talent. A lot of the places where we're talking about these 100 or so people aren't really the skilled talent for Silicon Valley itself. And so that's why you see the message getting broader and a little bit outside the scope of this executive order.
Dan, I like your analysis of this. It's very good because you brought 2 perspectives in, the business perspective in relation to the impact on the economy and then the possible political perspective. But what I see here, though, is that the president is keeping his promise, America first, safety of America first. And I think when you're talking about the safety of America, you're also talking about the safety of its economy. So I've said it over and over again throughout the past 2 years. We're at war, and now we got a president who understands we're at war. And I don't think these moves he's making is to hurt the economy and to hurt the country per se, but it's to keep America safe and keep America first.
Dan, what about tax reform? What about job creation? Because this ban doesn't create jobs, period. We know that.
That's right. And again, I think the economy is the most important issue. We just got GDP report on Friday showing below 2% growth. That's 8 years in a row now.
Another ho-hum report.
Okay. And so now we're at this point about if you get the economy going, you start to see a lot of this begin to fade. We have a very aggressive agenda. Approval of energy infrastructure projects. We have $50 billion of energy projects that are stalled right now that he could start permitting right away. You're going to start seeing Congress in March and April move forward on reform of the Affordable Care Act, including the repeal of over $100 billion of tax increases annually that were imposed as part of that. And then that sets you up for tax reform in the second half of the year.
Well, this is what we want. The people want the business done. We want tax reform. We want the Affordable Care Act repealed and replaced. And we want a rollback in regulations. How about that cabinet? We want these confirmations done.
That's right.
When is this going to take place?
Part of the vetting and public relations here is he doesn't have his administration in place. So you'll start to see the Treasury Secretary go through today, the cloture vote for them. Secretary of State will go through today. So by the end of the week, you'll start to see a lot of these appointments come through. The Democrats are now talking about slowing these appointments down again. And Maria, we're probably going to see a Supreme Court picket sometime this week as well. And so that's going to take up a lot of the oxygen in D.C. But I do believe that Washington is very focused on getting the economy going through these series of cascading issues that will culminate with tax reform.
If you had a role in the White House, though, would you tell them to do tax reform first and then wait on the Affordable Care Act and everything else?
I would.
Well, I would say that there's an emerging view building that maybe you do a big tax cut and you can get it done by Memorial Day to get the economy going rather than trying to get bogged down in tax reform. Tax reform is closing off deductions and lowering tax rates.
So a tax cut then worry about the reform later.
Yeah. So
by the way, let's not underestimate the tax benefits of repealing and replacing Obamacare.
That's right.
A lot of tax experts are saying that's the biggest tax cut of all.
That's right. Well, immediately you would get a 3.8% tax on capital gains and dividends. You'd be repealing a lot of these growth-killing tax increases, and you'd be reforming our health care system, which provides a tax cut to consumers through the lower premiums.
Before you go, what is the economic impact? Have you studied this? Is there an economic impact that you can measure as a result of a 20% or a 15 or 20% corporate tax rate and a rollback of regulations?
Well, we think that you can get GDP back above 3%. So if you're looking at it fully implemented, you're going from a 2% to a 3% economy.
As a result of those two measures?
As a result of those two measures. Now, it may be harder to sustain it, so you're going to have to keep those reforms going because you need to generate productivity. But when you look at the House Republican tax reform plan, lowers rates, 100% expensing for capital equipment, that will immediately get growth and real job creation going, not the jobs that we've been seeing over the last few years. 2018.
2018.
Yeah. 2018.
All right, Dan. We got you on all the specifics this morning.
Great. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Don't be a stranger.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Dan Clifton, Strategas. Another Trump tweet we want to bring you. Here's what he just said. The president is tweeting this morning. There is nothing nice about searching for terrorists before they can enter our country. This was a big part of my campaign. Study the world. He's basically telling you that this is an ugly fact, but we got to do it.
Should not be a surprise. He's campaigned on this, and you're absolutely right, Marie. He's saying it's got to be done. It hasn't been done. He's being very proactive, and I hope to God that he's prevented maybe a terrorist attack.
All right, we will leave it there.